Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm Courtney.
And I'm MK.
And how are you?
You know, I'm good. This week I went to the drive-in.
I love
It,
the drive-in.
Me too. And I saw Inside Out 2.
How was it? I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, so here's the thing. It was good. It was really good. There were a couple moments where I teared up. It's all about like becoming like a middle schooler and like anxiety and cringe emotions and everything, and it is like beyond accurate. The problem is it was so hyped up that I was expecting it to be like mind-blowingly emotional, and it just isn't. It's definitely
Mm,
a sequel. Like, you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
it's it's as good as Toy Story 2 was. You know what I mean? Like where it's like it's a really good movie, but if you're comparing it to the first one, don't.
right.
So,
I just rewatched the first one with my mom this weekend.
yeah. No, there is one line that just fucking wrecked me. Um,
Cannot wait. Thrilled.
and I died and I cried a lot. Yeah, but the story is like I said, it's like a middle schooler trying to deal with like the emotions that puberty brings, and it is as cringe as you're gonna imagine it could possibly be. Like
Yeah.
we were watching it and Dan just goes, "Oh," he was like getting so upset. He was like, I don't know." I'm like, he was like having a panic attack for her. He was like, "Oh my God, she can't. I don't, oh." And
Bless it.
I was like, yeah, yeah. But then also, I had a migraine the other day, and Dan was like trying to make me feel better because like I took usually when I like have a migraine, I take some pain pills, I take a nap, I'm fine. Also, I forgot to put my ring on this morning, and so my hand feels weird. But I did. I took pain pills, I took a nap, I had some caffeine, and like nothing was helping. Like he was like, "What do you want to eat?" And I was like, "I don't know." And he was like, "Do you want me to make mac and cheese?" And I was like, "I don't know." He goes, "Okay, well now I know you're not okay."
Right.
But so he did. He made mac and cheese, and we watched Beauty and the
Mm.
Beast.
Oh,
Which
yes.
here's the
Yes.
fucking thing that was weird about that. Dan and I have been together for 2 years. We're getting married in 165 days. We have never watched Beauty and the Beast together before this week.
How?
So my mom was like, "Wait, I'm sorry, what?"
That's like me not watching Nightmare Before Christmas with someone. Like,
Right.
and like I love Beauty and the Beast. It's Beauty and the Beast is one of my top Disney
Yeah.
movies as well. But Nightmare Before Christmas is like my everything movie. When I
Yeah.
move, when it's a holiday,
Mhm.
it's always Nightmare Before
Yeah.
Christmas that I watch. And Alice in Wonderland is my stressful week. So like those are the two that if you haven't watched those movies with me, I don't even know who you are. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
we haven't, but we haven't been in the same place a
Same.
lot.
Yeah, we don't.
So that doesn't really count. But like, yeah.
Yeah, no, don't. To be fair, he also has never watched The Holiday or Love Actually with me, which is also
Yeah.
confusing. Um,
Because you've had two holidays now.
right.
Yeah.
We did watch Serendipity.
I have never seen that.
Yeah, you should watch that.
I know.
We did watch that. And we have watched, no, actually, you know what? We don't, the problem is I watch a lot of Disney animated movies. Like, that's my me time. Like, when I don't want to talk to anybody, when I'm not feeling well, when I just need to like turn my
Mhm.
brain off, that's what I do. So, like, we've watched Snow White together, but only on accident because I was watching it because I needed to. And he, like,
Mhm.
just happened
Right.
to be in there. But yeah, the fact that it took 2.5 years before we watched Beauty and the Beast together is shocking to everyone I know. Um, but especially because I don't know, that's like the entire theme of my wedding. It's fine.
Right. Like that's also like the thing of it.
It's fine. But yeah, we watched it and we sang along
Nice.
together, and it was so cute. We were watching it in the like first scene where the Beast is like talking to Lumiere and Cogsworth and Mrs. Potts about how he doesn't know what to do like with Belle in the castle. He was like, "It's just she's so beautiful, and I mean, look at me." And Dan was like, "That's how I felt when I met you," and I'm just like, "You're wrong, but
That's
it's
too much.
fine."
That's too much. He's too ugh. I love him.
I love him. He's gross, but I love him.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know.
Exactly.
I'm just good.
Good.
It was a Disney week.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you were telling me last week about your concert, and I totally spaced and didn't tell you about mine. So right before I left to go back home, I went to a concert and I went and saw Thomas Dolby and Tom Bailey of the Thompson Twins. And so it
Oh,
was hella 80s night. Of
love
course,
that.
Thomas Dolby, I didn't realize is also a professor now. And so he teaches like
Okay.
digital like music production stuff. And so he had all these like cool tools and was doing like this drum beat behind it. It was just him on the stage. But he of course did She Blinded Me with Science and had this whole like picturesque thing behind
Fucking
him.
love that.
And then Tom Bailey came out and his whole band is female. They're amazing. It was
What?
so great. And of course he did, Hold Me Close, all of the big ones.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but it was just so much fun. And like it was funny because so Nick's mom bought the tickets and she bought these before I even moved here. So I was not meant to go to this concert. I mean,
Right.
I was, but she didn't know that at the time. And so Rachel, it
Like
was gonna be her.
emotionally, you were meant to go to this
Right,
concert.
right. Like it was supposed to happen, just nobody knew. Um, and so it's supposed to be her brother, her best friend, and then Nick and Rachel. Nick and Rachel do not care, do not know. I mean, Nick likes Thomas Dolby, and so like he played a couple things, and he always likes a concert. But like overall, they were never like super 80s. Her best friend April, same thing. She likes to go to a concert, could give or take it. She just kind of likes hanging out with Renee.
Yeah.
Renee's super stoked, super into it, loves Thomas Dolby. And me, I mean, you know me.
Yeah.
I just
Sure.
all concerts, I am there. If I know them, I am there.
Yeah.
And
Sometimes if
her
I
brother,
don't know
like,
them, I'm there.
exactly. Like 2 days before the show, her brother was like, I can't go. And so I ended up getting to go. Super last minute, but it was so much fun. But because we're having a huge throwback with this 80s concert, Y2K also happened apparently.
Right. Let me tell you.
My-
Okay. A quick aside about this Y2K thing. Friday morning, I told you about last if you listen to Sunday's podcast, I woke up Friday morning. My parents were already gone for work. I was having a hell of a
Right.
morning. I was just kind of sitting there. But I like caught up on my all my reality TV. I watched Big Brother, I watched RuPaul's Drag Race, I watched The Bachelorette. I was just like chilling, drinking my coffee, playing my games, watching reality TV. I get a message from Courtney that's like, I just woke up and the world's ending. And I was like, haha, what? And she goes, no, but for real. And I go, okay. So I looked it up and I go, oh my God. Dan's cousin got married in Italy over the weekend. And Sydney, his cousin's new wife, Sydney's parents, their flight got delayed Thursday because of weather. And then Friday, the fucking world fell apart. So then Saturday, they're trying to catch up on 2 days worth of flight delays. Their wedding started at 5 p.m. Their parents got to the villa at 6 p.m. So they pushed the wedding back for her parents to get there. So
Wow.
then their 4-hour Italian dinner ended at 12:30
Oh my
a.m.
God.
And then they all had to get up and go to a wine tour at 10 o'clock the next morning.
What a time.
And I was like, so you know how I was like kind of sad that we weren't going to Italy? I'm good.
Yeah, I woke
I'm
up to
not
like
I'm not cut out for hours like that.
no, I woke up to like I had updates on my phone because I get updates,
Yeah.
and it was like Boeing's are all grounded again. Microsoft messed up again. Like it's a whole thing, and I was like, what on earth? And I'm like not awake because I think was that the day I had a major allergy attack? No, I think that was Saturday. Um, but I was just like so out of it, and my mom just like comes into my room and she's like, all of the computers are down. The world is in it, and she's like just talking at me. So I haven't had my coffee. I was up too late. It is too early, and I was just like did I miss Y2K? Like where
I
like that's what I said to her. That was the first thing I said to my mom Friday morning. I was like,
I
I don't know what's happening.
I called my
I'm
mom
so
and I said,
confused.
"Hey, how are the computers at your work doing?" She goes, Power School's down, but everything else is fine, except for that my computer thinks that it's going to have a Microsoft update. So we'll see how that goes." But I
Yeah,
was like,
JP was fine. I texted him because he
yeah.
works with the hospitals and totally
Well, and
fine.
but I was like so stressed about it. I was supposed to call my doctor and go to the bank on Friday. I did neither of those things. And then of course I didn't do them this morning because we're recording the podcast. So like fingers crossed
Yeah,
that I get to the bank and my doctor's office at some point this week.
you got
But
that.
my ex Joe works in IT. He texted me Friday. He was like, I think I'm gonna have to work all weekend. And I was like, I would not
Bet on
want to
it.
be in IT today. He said there are
Yeah.
1,700 computers down just in this campus of our company.
Oh my God.
I was like,
Yeah. I woke up to my mom telling me about Y2K. She did not call it that. I did.
Yeah.
But I woke up to my mom telling me about Y2K. I had texted my friend about applying at the Supreme Court here in Orleans because he works tech there. And so he's just sending me links to jobs and texting me. And I was like, it is too early. I didn't actually think you were going to respond as soon as I texted you, but I just didn't want to forget to text you. And now
Yep.
you're texting me a lot. And so I just said, thanks. I'll talk to you again when I look at the jobs. So I have jobs on my brain. My mom's asking me about a different job that I had applied for the night before. And then Rachel starts texting about the cruise. I was like, I cannot talk right now. I haven't even seen a cup of coffee, much less drink wine. The
Right.
world has ended, and I don't know what day it is. I need a minute
Yeah.
before we get
But
started.
like the wildness of just Y2K actually happened on a random fucking Friday in July,
I
24
know.
years later.
And like, was not really a huge, I mean, it was a huge deal, of course. Like, tons of
It
planes,
it
like, Jacqueline
it
was delayed like 12 hours, had to pay an extra like $1,000 to get home. Like, it was a nightmare,
it was a
but the
nightmare.
world didn't
The
actually end
world
other
didn't
than on
actually
Friday.
end, but it was a nightmare in the sense of like you realize just how many things in our world were fucked.
Yeah. But like, robots didn't take over. So, like,
That's good.
you know,
That's fair enough. Yeah.
not quite as much as like Y2K anticipated.
Yeah.
But it was, wow, what a wild week it was, though. Like,
Yeah.
Y2K in the middle of 2024.
If you can tell, we're just avoiding moving on from talking about our lives.
We are. I am aghast of Y2K, but we are also doing
No,
that.
yeah, it's
Um, but we do need to get to this, so we should talk about it. But before we get started, will you give me a little guidance of life, even if
maybe
it's devastating?
it's not really great. We're at a
Cool.
opening week.
That tracks.
But okay. Anyone who says you can sleep when you die, tell them to come talk to me after a few months as an intern. Of course, it's not just the job that keeps us up all night. I mean, if life's so hard already, why do we bring more trouble down on ourselves? What's up with the need to hit the self-destruct button?
Look, I
That's
hear
it.
you.
That's it. That's
I
all I
hear
got.
you. I am behind already on studying for the bar. I have 12 essays due today that I have to grade, and I leave in 12 hours. What time is it?
1 o'clock.
No, it's like, okay, like 18 hours is when I
Yeah,
leave. But like still, and I have
it's
not
okay.
packed. Like it's
Like
I
I
can
said,
sleep when I'm
I
dead.
have to call the bank and I have to call my doctor's office. And the doctor's office is because I had an HR meeting for my new job last week and I filled out all the paperwork. But one of the things that they need is a form like that your doctor says that you are like physically able to fulfill the job.
Mhm.
Which at least they're doing that because I've had jobs where they didn't take my doctor's note. I had to go to their specific doctor and like get a
Oh God, no,
yeah.
that's stupid.
But so they're taking my doctor's note, which is fine. But like, so I have to do
Mhm.
that. I have to do all this paperwork and everything for them. I have to get shit notarized. I still haven't even looked at the practice test for the fucking test I have to take this summer. Like, I'm like, we're cool.
Yeah. I'm gonna get back to my life soon, probably. We'll see. I don't know. This last week completely threw my whole life out of balance. Um, it's just weird. Anyways, but today we're going to talk about a movie. It is time to discuss Hannibal Rising because you all voted and you wanted us to go in chronological order. Probably a
Thank
good call because,
because
as I've heard, this is the worst. So
yeah.
it's fine. I listened to before we get started, I listened to a lot of Hannibal first episodes this week to kind of see what the vibe was like. There's only one other podcast that I found. I listened to like it was five or six, and there's only one other one that I found that is completely spoiler free, other than us, like As You Go, and
Yeah.
that was Unspoiled. They did Hannibal. They also did Harry Potter at one point. They do books. They do like you've probably heard of them. They do a
Yeah.
lot of stuff. I listened to most of the first episode, but it was an hour and a half, and I was driving in the middle of nowhere, and I was like, I need something else. I have listened to too many podcasts about Hannibal right now.
Yeah.
And so if you are looking, like if you want to know what's out there, like I have not found another one that is completely spoiler free
Okay.
except Unspoiled. But it does start with giving some spoilers about the movie franchise. Mostly Silence of the Lambs. So like if you've seen Silence of the Lambs, you're
They're good.
fine.
Yeah.
But they talked about this movie and how it is a terrible movie. The book is not better. I listened to the book as well. It is read, the narrated by Thomas Harris. Um, book sucks, movie sucks. Sorry about it. It just is what it is. Unspoiled
Yeah.
agrees. So
I had no like I watched it this morning and I had a really busy weekend that you can learn more about if you listen to Sunday's episode of the podcast because I haven't told Courtney about it yet. Um,
yeah.
but I didn't watch any of the stuff that I had to watch. And so I got up at 5 a.m. this morning after not falling asleep till midnight to watch this stuff. And this movie is over 2 hours long.
Mhm.
And I paused it 6 or 7 times.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if I know what happened in this movie because
Don't worry, I'll tell you.
I could not, like, when I was 25 minutes in and I still didn't care, that's when I was like, this is gonna be a long 2.5 hours.
Yeah, so also similar vibes. I was helping Rachel pack last night, and at 12:45, I realized it was 12:45 and was like, "You got this. I gotta go watch a movie."
Yeah.
And so I started this over 2 hour movie at 12:45 a.m. And so I fell asleep around 3-ish after I had already restarted some of the movie because I had fallen asleep before, and then I woke up again this morning, and I woke up around 7 and again restarted it two more times in different places just to try and get a full picture of what I had missed.
Yeah.
There are still a couple of scenes I missed. I do know what happened in them, but I did not actually see them, which is they were the bad scenes. So it's good that I
I'm gonna
didn't
be
really see
honest.
those.
I watched the version that's on Freebie with the
Mhm.
ads.
Me too.
I did not watch the unrated version. I watched the
I
regular
didn't
version
either.
of the movie. And I didn't think anything, like there was a couple gross pieces, but
Mhm.
I didn't think anything was that disgusting. Like in terms
Well,
of
there was supposed to be the assault scene, and I did not actually see that one
I
happen.
didn't see that. That's why I was waiting for that scene.
Oh,
It
so maybe
didn't
it's not in the unrated version.
maybe it's not.
Or
No,
maybe
maybe
it's
it's
in the
only in the
rated
unrated.
version.
Yeah, maybe it's only
Yeah.
in the unrated version because
Okay.
I went in knowing I was gonna have to like skip that scene. It was
Right.
not in there.
Great. Then
Um,
maybe I did see the whole movie because that's the only part that I don't remember.
yeah. I mean,
So,
even some of the violent scenes, they like
yeah.
weren't as much as I was
Mm-mm.
expecting them to be. I was like, for a movie
It's
that
not
has
as
like,
gory either.
yeah, I was like, for a movie that's
Hmm.
like supposed to be like real fucking dark, it's not.
It's not.
It wasn't what I thought it was going to be at all. I
And I
think
think when we start talking about the production team, it'll make more sense why.
okay, cool, because I there's only
Yeah.
like really one thing about this movie that I have anything good to say, and it's not actually about the movie; it's about the person in the movie.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. Fair. But yeah, so this is that. I'm gonna give you a little overview of what it is, and then we'll talk about the plot before we talk about a few fun facts. So this Hannibal Rising is the last released Hannibal movie. It was released before the TV series and before Clarice, obviously. But it was the last movie that was released, also the last book that was released. So it came out February 9th, 2007. It was rated 6.1 out of 10, which again,
Good.
not wrong.
Yeah.
Um,
Nope. Nope.
it was the number one movie at the time was Norbit.
Oh,
Um, so like we're not having a strong start to 2007.
no, no, no.
Um, the number one song is Irreplaceable by Beyonce. So we're listening to music, not watching movies in 2007.
Correct. Correct.
And the number one book is Plum Lovin' by Janet Ivanovich, who we've talked about before. Again, the Stephanie Plum
But
series.
that's not part.
So
Is that part of the number
mhm,
series?
mhm. No,
That
it's
doesn't.
part of the Stephanie Plum series. I don't know. Um, because I mean it's Stephanie Plum, so I assumed it was
But that
Plum
doesn't have a number
Lovin'.
in the title.
You're right. Now that I read that, you are right, and I should look that up. It's the 14th book. They just didn't put the number in it, I guess.
Well, that's really upsetting.
Um, oh wait, it's a
Or is
novella. It's
uh
a novella where she's tracking down Annie Hart, which is there's like a 5 book series. So it's the 14th book, but it's a novella, so it's not like the
okay.
typical ones you see.
So there
A 14?
yeah.
Let's see.
Yes, there is. It's
Um,
called Fearless 14. Okay.
okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So basically,
So,
all the ones that say Plum in the title are part of that mini series, and all of the
or like,
ones,
yeah,
and then all of the ones that have the number in the title are the main series.
right.
That makes
Yeah, and a
sense.
lot of the ones that are the like little plot line all have to do with Annie Hart, it seems, for a lot of
Yes.
them. There's like five of them.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah. So it's
that is
still
one day when I finish my to be read list. I think
mhm,
that series is something that I want to read because it always
yeah.
is doing well
It's
in the
good. I've read a
charts.
couple.
I've heard
Mhm.
nothing but good things about it. I just
Yeah, I read the first few and I really liked them. So I would recommend it. It's a really long series, but
yes.
it's, like I think the 27th one just came out. Like it's you got some
Yeah, but
to get through.
this is I
Right.
still have to get through this.
But look how far you are.
I know I'm here.
Like you can finish that before school starts.
That's the goal. That's the
I
goal.
hope so. You got this. Um, on this day, we don't have a lot to talk about. There was not a lot of good news. Not there was some bad news, but it wasn't super big. Hank Bauer died at 84, from the Yankees. And Tom Hiddleston turned 26. Those are my facts for you. Also, I've
Oh
always
God.
thought Tom Hiddleston was older than he was. I did not realize because he was born in, I think, 79. Is that how math works?
Here's the thing. I always think of him as younger than he is because he's so attractive to me.
Oh no, he's super attractive.
But then
Yeah.
you said that he turned 26 in 2007, and in February of
Mhm.
2007, I was a freshman in high school. So like that's fucked up.
Yeah, yeah, but I always thought he was older. I don't know why though, but I mean, he was born in 79, so he's 13 years older than us, not like 1,000.
Right. I
Um,
mean, 13 years.
I mean, I'm not gonna marry him. I mean, probably now wouldn't be that bad. I'm 31, so he's like, early 40s. But
Well, that's
in
fair. That's fair.
yeah,
I guess yeah, I guess 13 is only a big deal when you're also 13.
right, right. Yeah. So when he's twice your life now, that makes a big difference. But yeah, I just always thought he was so much older for some reason. Um, so our director is Peter Weber, not of The Bachelor.
I was like, why does that name
Because
sound familiar to me? Oh, because that's Pilot
yeah,
Pete.
not spelled the same. But when you search Peter Weber, Bachelor's still the one that comes up, even if you spell it the correct way for the director. So I don't have a ton of information on him. He is known for Girl with a Pearl Earring, which I've heard mixed reviews about
I've
also.
also heard very mixed reviews about.
Um, In a Yard, which is a reggae movie, and Emperor. These are not horror films. I guess Girl with the Pearl Earrings is like thrillery drama a little bit, but it's not like intense
Is it?
thriller from what I understand. I haven't seen it, but I think it's like mild thriller, like very
I just
dramatic.
I just thought it was like historical bullshit about the painting.
I think it has a thriller element to it though.
Huh.
I don't really know. I haven't because I haven't seen it. Um Pearl Earring. Let's
To be
see.
honest, sometimes when people say girl with a pearl earring, I immediately go, oh, the Danish girl. And then I go, those are two fucking different movies.
Yeah, no, 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 not the same. Um, oh, it's a romance drama. I thought it had a little more oomph to it. Um, who knows?
No,
Maybe I made that
yeah,
up in my head.
I thought it was like way more like other Berlin girl
It might
genre.
be. I mean, it says it's a romance drama, so it probably is. But
Disappointing.
themes and analysis. Oh, they have a lot of themes and analysis. I don't need all of that.
Okay.
Never mind. But yeah, so those are the things he's known for. Those are not horror. I went
Oh.
and looked through. He does not have a lot of horror. And he is, oh God, I meant to look up where he was from because our crew and cast are from all over the place. Oh, he's British. So he's British. So you're also getting
Are
like a
the
British director for an American horror, like which is very different things. British drama versus American horror.
okay,
Like, why was this
just
the
really
choice?
quickly, British drama for American horror, trying to have an authentic Eastern European feel with with UK actors doing shitty French and German accents.
Oh no, they're French. Like it's such a mixed cast. Wait
Mm-mm.
until we get there.
No, no, no. Some of them are, but
Yeah.
I'm specifically speaking of the two that I know for a fact
Oh, yeah.
are British or Scottish. And what
Mhm.
the fuck are they doing?
Yeah, yeah. It's oh my, it's such a like, and I love a diverse cast. There's a lot to be said for a diverse cast, but you have to decide what you're doing.
Well,
You can't like
and also
if
you're
a
not that's not to say that somebody like think about it Hemlock Grove. For all the other
yeah.
shit that we can say about Hemlock Grove. Do Gray Scott is Scottish.
Mhm.
Famke Johnson is Swedish or
Swedish, I
is
think.
she Swedish? The
I think
Skarsgård. No,
so.
I don't think I know Skarsgård
Or she's
is
Dutch. Let me see.
yeah, where Johnson
Yeah.
sounds like a Dutch. I think she is Dutch. That makes more
She's
sense.
Dutch. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
she's
she's
Dutch.
Dutch. Because I was like, no, because the Skarsgårds are Swedish.
Right.
Skarsgård's Swedish. Then we have, I mean, uh, Joel De La Fuente is American, but he's Filipino American.
Right.
Then we've got Landon Lieberman is, I think, American, but Freya Tingley was Australian. Connie is native Canadian. Like,
Mhm. But the thing
talk
is,
talk about a diverse cast. Okay,
mhm,
but none of them seemed like they didn't fucking belong there
yeah.
because they can all act.
And they can all act and they all have experience in that genre to an extent, even if it's
Yeah,
milder,
yeah, yeah,
like they
yeah.
have that same thing with your creative team. They have experience in that genre. So like even if you're pulling people from wildly different areas,
Yeah.
they're known for similar things. I mean, Famke Janssen has more like she has like superhero stuff. I mean, she's, Jane like what's her name? Gray. What's her
But
name?
none of those characters, not I mean, the horror elements of the show weren't even the most important parts of the show,
Right.
other than in the visual departments, and the visual team knew
Mhm.
what they were doing. The high
Exactly.
drama of the characters, all of them could do high drama.
Right. And they had in other different things. Like it was not, you
Yeah,
know, anyways. So our director, first of all, incorrect.
already a miss.
British drama doing American horror. Completely
And
wrong.
it's not to say that you can't switch genres, but like,
But you need help if you're going to, and we don't have that here either. Because then we go to the writer who also did the screenplay is Thomas Harris. They did not have a separate screenplay writer. This is the only one he has been the screenplay writer for. He wrote the books for all of them,
which is
obviously.
fair, and it's his story, right? The book, but have someone who's familiar with film and television to do
Right.
that
And
for
the
you.
issue is this book was written while the movie was being written because he was done writing these books. But the people that owned the Hannibal character, I don't remember that stuff, probably NBC still, but whoever owned them at the time was like, we're doing another movie because we're cashing in on the money that we're making on everything else. Do you want to write it or do we want someone else to write it? And he was like,
And he was like, don't let anybody else touch my fucking
right.
characters.
And so he's writing the book as he's writing the movie. And so the book is bad, the movie is bad, and there's no one else on the screen. I mean, I'm sure they have assistant writers and stuff, but there's no one else like listed as a writer on this movie except him. And it's
Absolutely
just
not.
like, what a terrible concept. And like, obviously, he knows horror. He wrote the book, but like,
Well, and
but
here's the
he
thing:
didn't want to write it.
if his writing was point blank bad, Hannibal Lecter wouldn't be the character that he is. Like Silence of the Lambs didn't
Right.
become the phenomenon that it did because the character was bad because Thomas Harris's writing was bad. And I understand that Silence of the Lambs wasn't the first movie, blah blah blah, whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
That is why people know it though. Um,
Mm-hmm.
if Hannibal Lecter was a bad character, if Thomas Harris's writing was like point, I mean, and to be fair, sometimes you can make a phenomenon out of bad writing,
Yeah.
Twilight. But but if Thomas Harris was a terrible writer, we wouldn't still be talking about Hannibal Lecter 35 years later. Like,
Yeah. But also, you have him as screenplay writer, as an American writer, writing for all of these international casts that he has no idea what he's doing.
right. So you've got other fucking languages in the movie. You've got all this shit. And also you have the stress of having to come up with this as you're writing the movie. Like it's
And
not
you're
like
only doing, you don't want to do it. Like
right.
he didn't want to write this.
You have like if you have a novel and you go, okay, we're going to turn it into a movie. What are the parts we can take out? What are the chunks we can do? How can we streamline it? Like there in Harry Potter, there are entire chapters missing
Right.
because it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Fine.
But this book is short. The book
but
is
it's
the movie.
because he doesn't have time. He doesn't have
Yeah.
he doesn't have a story.
Yeah. He
And
doesn't have a
also,
story. He doesn't want to write it. He doesn't know what he's writing. Like it's oh my
it's
gosh,
bad.
such a terrible,
It's bad.
terrible whole project. But I do have some things about him because we have not actually spoken about him in more detail. There's not a ton though. He did not give an interview though from 1976 to 2019. Like he just refused to give interviews. And I was like, okay, that's fine, I guess. If you do you, boo, but that's fine.
I mean,
He
honestly, that's my dream. Like to write a fucking like best-selling novel and then never fucking talk to anybody. You
I
want to know what
could
I
not
was
control
thinking?
myself.
You want to know what I was thinking? Figure it out.
See, I would not be able to do that. He attended the trial for the Monster of Florence while he was writing the Hannibal books and doing research on them because he did go over I forget the Eastern European area that he's from, but he went over there and did a lot of research before he wrote his first book. So he knows the area because Manhunter and stuff like they talk about his background in Red
Yeah.
Dragon.
So
And so he actually
here's the
attended the
thing
case while he
about
was
that
there.
though.
Hmm.
Based on this movie, what I am seeing is that Hannibal Lecter is from Lithuania.
Hmm.
I, as you may remember, just spent a very long time deep diving post World War II or pre World War II Lithuania with my students.
Right.
I had problems.
Well, that's the thing is like that was enough research that he did for something like Silence of the Lambs, where he's just
Right.
creating a character.
Where he
But when
just
he's going
needs
to
but so for this,
right,
I'm not saying that there's a lot of the characteristics of Hannibal that I can absolutely see as coming from aristocracy in a pre-World War II
sure,
Lithuanian family. And what that means because pre-World War II in Lithuania, you're still actually Russian invaders. Like, so it's not a good
right,
time. Like, I totally see it. But the focus on what was actually happening in Lithuania during the war was not was rough.
right. Yeah, no, it was a which we'll get to. As of this comment, which could have been from 2 years ago or could have been more recent, he has not watched Anthony Hopkins' portrayal of Hannibal because he says he didn't want it to influence
The
any
way
of the other
he
ways he wrote him because he has
that's
this idea and he has just refused to watch it
I
because he
mean,
knows that it's
that's totally valid though, because
yeah,
when I think of Hannibal Lecter, I think of Anthony Hopkins. And
right.
even with how much I love Mads Mikkelsen and I love the TV show, if
Hmm.
you say Hannibal Lecter to me, I picture Anthony Hopkins.
Of course,
There's
yeah.
no, and so if I'm trying to stay true to a design that existed in my head before that, because I
Yeah.
mean, think about it. Think about how much the Harry Potter characters are shaped by the movie. Because by the time the seventh book came out, we were three movies in,
We have
four
our
movies in.
cast. Yeah.
And so she's now no longer writing this like Snape and the first book and Snape post her relationship with Alan Rickman
Very
aren't
different.
the same character. And I know she always
Yeah.
had the arc for Snape in her
Right.
mind, but it's his portrayal in the
Hmm.
books is very colored by by Alan Rickman. And so
Right.
I actually am totally cool with the fact that he's never watched the movie.
Absolutely. Because if you think about it, I mean, we've now had multiple portrayals of Hannibal. And if he had written just for Anthony Hopkins, we're never getting to that level. No one else is going to be Anthony Hopkins Hannibal. It's just not going to happen, which means nothing else would be successful because it's too tailored to him moving forward, I think. And so I think that it's good. I agree. I think it's good that he kind of
Um,
stayed away from it.
when you said no one else could be Anthony Hopkins, my brain immediately went to the scene in Thor where they act out the play of Thor's family. And now I'm trying to remember who played Odin in that scene.
Yeah, it was, oh God, I can't remember, but that was such a wild scene.
Um,
Make believe scene. Hold on, let's see.
Sam Neill.
Yeah.
Sam Neill, that's the one from Jurassic Park, right?
I think so.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Sam.
Jurassic Park. Yeah, it says he was Peaky Blinders too, but I haven't watched that
But
yet.
Sam Neill is the lead guy from
Hmm.
Jurassic Park. But when you were like, no one else could be Anthony
Yeah.
Hopkins, I was like, what about Sam Neill though?
But also that was such a like
That was so
characterized
stupid.
version. Like
It
it
was so
was
dumb.
yeah, like it was meant to be off the wall. Like that's
Yeah,
so funny. But yeah. Um so yeah, totally makes sense that he hasn't watched it. And last
yeah.
but certainly not least, he passed the Cordon Bleu cooking classes like before he ever started writing. Like, so he knows what he's talking about with all the culinary stuff because he actually passed all the courses,
Right.
which is very cool. So you have British director, American writer. Now we have our editors. Now these editors, we have two of them. They've worked together before. It's Valerio Bonelli and Petro Scalia. They're Italian. We have not talked about Italian editors yet. That is not someone we've come across. I don't know a lot about Italian films.
I don't
Um,
either. Even all the international film I do know, I know shit about Italian film.
right. Like I know French, I know German, I know like not Italian. It's not the one. They are so Valerio Bonelli is known for Darkest Hour.
Oh, I love that movie though.
Oh, I haven't seen it. Sampa and The Martian.
Okay, but Darkest
Which
Hour and The Martian are like fucking Oscar winning, like really,
right.
really, really good films.
And they are next in line to sci-fi. I get it. Like, so this is like horror's next to sci-fi a lot. So it
Well, no, but
and to be
no,
fair, the editing's not dark.
neither of those are sci-fi.
The Martian's not?
I
I
mean,
thought it was like
The
sci-fi
Martian,
drama.
it's sci-fi drama, but it's way more drama. It's like real life. This guy goes
Okay.
up
I
to
haven't actually
Mars,
seen
and
it.
it's real life. Like this astronaut gets stuck on Mars and like lives.
Right.
It's more like almost like mockumentary, like in that it's like
Oh, okay,
high
okay.
drama. It just happens to be in space. And Darkest Hour is a biopic of It's the biopic of Winston Churchill, but Gary Oldman played Winston Churchill. It's fucking
Hmm,
amazing. It is.
interesting.
It to the point where people like Gary Oldman for a while, people like were having a really hard time looking at him because he looked so much like Winston Churchill when he was in makeup that you didn't know
Gotcha.
who it was. Like it is one of the like I oh so no they're like high Oscar level drama movies.
Yeah, which is different from this. But I didn't,
No, no,
and to
no.
be fair, I didn't think the editing was bad in this movie. That
I
was
don't
not
either.
the thing I had a problem
No,
with.
to be honest, the way it was edited and the choice of like
The
in the
lighting and
cinematography,
yeah,
the choices for editing were my least problematic part of the movie.
correct. And so Pietro Scalia is our other writer. Oh, he also so Valerio Bonelli also worked on Woman in the Window. That's his most recent thing, but that was years
Way
after.
after, yeah.
That is the only quote unquote horror or thriller
Okay.
like credit he has, and that was way after this movie, so very different. And then Pietro Scalia is known for also The Martian. They worked on it together.
Okay.
And then Gladiator, Black Hawk Down, and the 1991 JFK movie. And then most recently, he's worked on Morbius, Solo, and Amazing Spider-Man. So he has a lot more actiony background. Again, not horror really. I haven't seen Morbius, but it's probably the closest thing. I think it has some darker
Yeah.
elements, but the rest of them are very like actiony and a little dramatic and stuff. So like just a weird place to pull from, I felt like, but it did work for the editing.
Yeah.
Just not familiar with Italian editors until this. But yeah, so our team is so wild. And if we're comparing this to like our current show, we're going from like an action and drama crew that's all international from who knows where versus our like
Okay.
music video crew. Like you see, which is why we
Yeah.
have created completely different. And like the people who work on Hannibal have worked on horror, like the TV show have worked on horror. So like we have, and that it's so wild how different it is. And maybe we have a colored view because we've seen it from the horror music video side, which is phenomenal, to this action, like action drama crew, which is just strange for this
Yeah.
type of film. So now I want to talk to you a bit about the actors we have. So of course we have Gaspard Ulliel, who plays Hannibal. He's French. So again, pulling people from nowhere. And I mean, it makes sense. They're doing a French area. So like it makes sense that we have a French
And
actor
honestly,
here.
he was a very, very good actor. I didn't love him as Hannibal, but I don't really think that was his fault. I'm just really sad that he like didn't have a chance to show what his potential was. That is like really upsetting.
Because he's known as one of the like top actors in France. I did not know this. I did not know him before this film, but he has done quite a lot.
Well,
he's known for
he's dead.
What?
He died in a freak skiing accident in 2022.
See that?
I don't know. He died in a freak skiing accident in 2022, and he was very young and very on his way up in the French film industry. And it was like really tragic and upsetting. Like I'm so upset that he like never will have a chance to like do
Oh,
that.
because it doesn't put that on Wikipedia up top. It just tells you when he's born, and then if you look deeper, it tells you his
Yeah,
death.
yeah, yeah. I remember when he died, and I remember being and because I
Oh,
my dad and I were talking about it. He goes, yeah, oh yeah, I remember when he died, and they were like, yeah, he played Hannibal, and my dad was like, in fucking what?
right. No,
Yeah,
I truly just like I went through his whole Wikipedia to look at
yeah.
stuff. I just totally scrolled
I
past
could
the death
tell by
part
the
because it
way you
wasn't in
were.
the
I
right
could tell
spot.
by the way you were like describing him that I was like, oh, I don't think she realizes he's very
I did
dead.
not. I
Yes.
did not. Thank you for the update. Um, yeah, so I guess he passed away. That's very sad. Um, Wikipedia, fix yourself because you did not put it in the right spot where it
Mhm.
tells you that.
Yeah.
But he's known for IMDb also doesn't have it on there to be fair. Like I I didn't just
Yeah.
not look at this guy. Um,
No, I know. I'm actually because I remember I knew he died, and so then I was looking up some stuff about him today, and then I was like, why isn't that higher on the list of like when you Google him, why isn't his freak accident higher on the list
the
of
first thing you
things?
see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's known for a very long engagement. It's Only the End of the World and Paris I Love You. Those are his big movies. Paris I Love You, I think is one of his like favorite movies to do.
Yeah.
Um, and then he also was in Moon Knight, which was very recent, which is why I didn't realize because I was like, that's a very recent show. Like,
Hmm.
that was, I mean, I guess that came out the year he died
Yeah.
because I think it came out 22, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it definitely because it came out after Dan and I started dating. So it was I think it was the one of the last things he filmed before he died.
Yeah, it had to be. But yeah, he's known for having the most famous scar in French cinema. So the scar on his
Oh, gee.
face, yeah, is his real scar. He like was attacked by like a Doberman when he was a small child. And they've used it to their benefit in most of the films he's been in.
It just does have a really kind of unnerving quality to it.
Yeah, yeah. I do have a fun fact about him preparing for this specific role.
Yeah.
Um, so Peter Weber sent him to med school in Prague to attend like a real autopsy, so he could see what it was like for the bodies to be cut up for this role.
Yeah.
And he thought that he would come back horrified, but he came back bouncing in the room and he was like, I've got to go back tomorrow. And he was like so stoked. He was like, why? He's like, they're flaying the skin from the body, and I want to see what a flayed human looks like. And like, to be fair, that sounds a little creepy, but he actually was thrown in at the very end of the whole like semester. And so the bodies didn't even really look like humans anymore because they'd been worked on
They've
so
been
much.
taken up part so much
Right.
already.
And so he was like, they didn't look like real people. And so I didn't get the full effect. So he insisted on going back to like the first week of the next semester so that he could see the people as they
The,
were first brought in.
yeah.
So he did do a lot of research and he did a lot of like, he was very committed for how like Peter Weber was like, you just have to go. And this guy's like, no, if I'm going, I'm going. Like,
Yeah. And like I said, I didn't he wasn't my problem.
yeah. And so also, I don't know if you know this, but you probably do. He was the fan favorite fan cast for the role of Edward in Twilight. Apparently, he was like, I don't see it,
I don't see it.
but that is like one of the things that people were like, he's the fan favorite fan cast. And I was like, all
No.
right.
You know, I've
Very
read a lot
strange.
of fan castings for Twilight, and that might be the one I find the least
Hmm.
sensible.
It's so strange. It's so strange. I can't get behind it.
Yeah.
Um, so then next we have Reese Evans, who is plays Brutus. He's Welsh. Here we go again. He is known for Amazing Spider-Man, Notting Hill, Anonymous, and Snowden. Most recently, he is in House of Dragon. Like he is, you've seen him all over,
Yeah.
even if you like don't know, but he has one of those faces that like he's a Welsh actor that
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
he plays all of those roles.
Yeah.
He also, one of my favorite facts, I've not finished the show, but he plays Mycroft in Elementary. So
Oh, okay,
yeah.
interesting. I watched like two episodes of Elementary at the beginning, and I just never had a chance to really get into it. But
Hmm.
that's interesting. Okay.
I watched the first like half of the first season, I think, and I really liked it because I love Lucy Liu and I love
Johnny
the
Lee
guy who
Miller.
plays Sherlock. Yeah. And so like I really liked it. I just it wasn't the right time for my brain to be
Right.
watching it. So I will watch it eventually. He's also the original singer for Super Furry Animals, which is like a niche
Yeah.
popular band. I have heard of them. I do not know them and have not listened to them, but I have heard of their name. They're much bigger now than when he
Yeah.
was with him, but he was the original singer for them. They
Okay.
didn't take off till after he left. Maybe for good reason. I don't know. I didn't listen, but I just thought that was really funny. So next we have Gong Li, who plays Lady Murasaki. She's from China. So again, our cast, I don't know. We just found them from everywhere.
Yeah.
And I get it. They were placed correctly based on the ethnicities based in the book,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but these people didn't do horror films and they were just brought in because they were like the top of their country. Because I mean, Reese Evans has done a lot more. Like he's a lot more well bred throughout different genres. He was
Yeah.
a less bad pick. And like Gaspar Ulliel is not a bad pick for what he did, but he would not have been my first pick as someone from France because French has a huge horror genre. Why would you not get a like bigger French actor if you're doing horror? And then same
Yeah.
thing with Gong Li. She's known for Curse of the Golden Flower, Memoirs of a Geisha, Raise the Red Lantern, and Mulan. Like these are not where I'm picking a
I
woman
mean,
from China.
to
Like
be fair, Mulan was way after that.
that's true, that's true. But like Memoirs of a Geisha was probably a little before it. Like wasn't it like early 2000s? And this was 2007. I feel like I remember it coming out. But again,
Yeah.
drama, not a horror film. But I mean, again, she didn't do a terrible job, but she was picked because she's known as like the Meryl Streep of China. Like they just were like, who is the best person in this country for acting? Doesn't matter what they've done. Doesn't matter what genre they act in.
Yeah,
We just know they're a good actor.
but also, should it be uh the Meryl Streep of China when Lady Murasaki is Japanese?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like I don't
Listen,
nothing makes sense.
I've said it a million times. We don't have time for me to go into it again. Stop miscasting Asian people because you can't tell the difference. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. She does have a song written about her by the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and it's just called Gong Li, like it's her name. Um, and she was the first Chinese actor or actress on Time Magazine, the cover of Time Magazine. It's
Love
like
that.
she's great.
No, no, no.
Nothing wrong
I
with
have
her.
no problem with her. She's Chinese and the character is
She's
Japanese.
Chinese, and there was no reason for that. Like there was no background for this casting.
No.
Like it just I have a lot of questions. And then last, this is like the 30th person on the cast list for your information. But I thought we couldn't get away without talking about Dominic West. So when I tell you he was probably number 20, like he was so far down the
Which
cast list
doesn't really make sense
that I
because
questioned
Inspector
myself.
Popeil was like not a small character.
Right. Like I went to look and I was just looking for his name and I wasn't looking for like the character. And I was like, oh, it must be someone that just really looks like him because his name is not listed here. And then I went and I realized he was just really far down the cast list. And it was a whole moment I had.
Yeah.
But he is also from the UK. And so he plays Inspector Popple. He is known for The Wire, Chicago, The Forgotten, the 2018 Tomb Raider. So not the Angelina Jolie one,
Yeah.
but more recent one. But he like you
Why?
everyone knows him.
Okay. The list of things that he's known for,
Mhm.
I have a problem with. Because the number one thing on there is not the fucking crown.
I know I saw that he was in the Crown, but it is not the number one thing on there. I mean, The Wire's
Here's the
big.
thing.
I haven't watched
The Emmy nominations came out this week.
Mhm.
And for the final season of it's the final season of The Crown was in this Emmy cycle, and he is nominated for Best Lead Actor in a Drama Television Series. And I am freaking. I have never been invested in the Emmys before. I don't usually give a shit, but like I am so invested because Only Murders in the Building and The Crown are like the two big winners for the nominations for the Emmys this year. So I'm like fully fucking invested in the Emmys this year, and I was like reading them all out, all the nominations out, on Friday or Saturday, and I was freaking out. I was like, Dominic West is nominated. I was telling my dad, I was like, Dominic West as Prince Charles is more convincing to me than Prince Charles as Prince Charles. Like I'm 100% in on him as Prince Charles. Yeah.
I will watch it one day. Yeah, no, it was. I mean, it's listed. Obviously, he's a
Obviously, yeah.
main role, but like it just wasn't first. I mean, but you're looking at like Chicago. I don't know why Tomb Raider 2018 is on there.
Yeah,
That one I did. I was like,
yeah,
this
that's
one, throw that one.
no,
The
no.
Forgotten, I haven't seen, but I have heard
The
is like
Forgotten
a
and The Wire are fine.
really
He has
great.
really big roles in those, and they're both really, really good shows. I'm 100, like I'm in on that.
Right.
But it's just so funny to me because like right now in the year 2024, if somebody's like, "Oh, I just saw Dominic West in something," it's The Crown. Like it's
Right.
what he's
Yeah.
nominated for an Emmy for.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And as big as he is, there are not a lot of fun facts about him. I have one. He spent 4 months as a cattle herder in Argentina because he wanted to be different.
I'm obsessed with him. I don't know if anybody realized. Like, I mean, you guys do know this, but like, I'm obsessed with him.
It was the wildest thing. I will tell you the actors who tested for Hannibal, because there is a wide variety. Um, we start with Hayden Christensen. What? Like when I look at who tested for this role, I'm like, this is why we need a different crew working on this. I did not look up the casting director, but this is why we needed a different crew.
I,
Like, what?
okay, I'm not sold on that. I'm not sold, but I'm also not sold. I have
I mean, Hayden
thoughts.
Christensen has a good like evil persona and he has that good like intensity, but it's just not he doesn't have the quiet intensity, I feel like, which is what you want for Hannibal. He has more of a like loud, like I mean, of course, I just think of Star Wars. So like maybe that's just me, but like that's how I feel. Macaulay Culkin
No,
in 2007.
no.
So like he is not doing well.
Isn't that like the height of his drug addiction?
Yes.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
no,
Not a good choice.
no.
Um, Rupert Friend, Dominic Cooper, Tom Sturridge, Tom Paine, and Hugh Dancy.
No.
What is going on with this movie? I
This
don't understand. Like, I watched
just
it and was
like
like, this is not good. And then I read about it and I was like, I see, I understand. I understand what happened now. Like, it's my God, it's such a nightmare. So now I'll tell you a little about the plot so you can keep up for moving forward in our saga. So this is the first point in time of Hannibal, obviously. And we start with him as like a very young child. He watches his parents die. He's protecting his sister, um, who is then eaten by these Germans that are attacking everyone. And devastating. I get it. That's where his whole thing started. And so that is theoretically a good backstory. It's horrifying.
it is, and
Like,
there's one line that Inspector Popeil, Dominic West's character, says that I
mm,
think is like the epitome of why this movie is important. And he says, I don't know who that thing is because Hannibal Lecter died as a boy in the snow. Whatever is left of
right.
him is only a monster. And I think that in and of itself is so I just need that line. I don't even need the rest of the movie,
Yeah,
just that line.
correct. And it's nice to see where he comes from because it
Mm-hmm.
does make more sense with his like psyche, to know that like this all started because I don't know if they talk about this in any other movie or if they just this is a whole new storyline.
Probably
I think
not
it's a whole
because
new
like I
storyline.
think it's a whole new storyline because it
Yeah,
he came up with it on the fucking fly, like because they wanted to make a
right.
movie.
And so his sister is eaten, cannibalism starts there. So then he moves to the boys' home, and then he moves to, which is not important at all. And then he moves in with Lady Murasaki, who was supposed to be like his aunt or guardian. The book says one thing, the movie kind of says another. I don't really know what was supposed to be here, but she becomes his caretaker.
Well, yeah,
Um,
so basically the movie is like she is his uncle's wife, is
right, right, right,
how
right.
she exists in there, but like more so she's just a I don't know, it's kind of both. Oh,
Yeah, it's again not really well written there,
yeah.
but he moves in with her and then he starts seeing her being abused for being Japanese, and that's where he starts killing people. So of course he cuts off this man's head and brings it to her
Well,
like a
because she told him the story of like a legend of a Japanese samurai who
mhm,
like put the heads of his like
right.
victims as sacrifices basically, and he's like method
Got it.
achieved.
Right. He's like, I understand what you want from me now. And she's like, this isn't really what I meant when I told you this story, but
But she does
okay.
protect him. She does protect
She does
him.
protect him and she does, move the body and the head around so it looks like he didn't do it. Fine. Inspector Popple knows he's insane from the beginning. No question in his mind. He's
Oh
like,
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah, no.
understand why I can't catch you, but I do know that you are involved somehow. And so then we have so that's the guy that he goes to the boat to kill him. And then we have the guy where he, catches the guy that's stalking him from the original German group. He puts him in the little like water chamber and murders him. Um, and Popple's like, I know you've killed these people. Please do not kill people in my country. Like, I can't seem to catch you. So as long as you leave it to these two people, I think I can move on with my life. You can not do this anymore.
Yeah.
Does not work. Does not work.
No.
Um,
I mean, to be
he's
fair,
out.
he does leave the country for the next one.
That is true. That is true. He does, he's out with Lady Murasaki and they're at a restaurant and he sees the head guy, now I've forgotten his name, Brutus, with his child. And
No.
is that not Brutus?
No, it's not Curtis. He sees Colness, which is Kevin McKidd's
Colness.
character.
I can't
Yeah.
work with names in this movie.
Honestly, I only know because I'm Kevin McKidd, because the number of times that I go,
That's right. It's Kevin McKidd.
I was like, there were a couple moments where I was like, oh, he can actually act, and then there were a couple moments where I was like, oh, it's Owen Hunt as a German soldier. Like it didn't.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So I'm giving a very brief overview.
Yeah.
By the way. So yeah, so he sees Kevin McKidd with his family, and when the girl walks up, she's wearing Misha's bracelet. And so that's not cool. And he ends up collecting he collected all of their dog tags, and puts one on the child so that so Kevin McKidd knows he's there. And that's kind of what he follows. And he goes off to medical school to kind of like hone these talents or be better. I don't know. That's supposed to be his like saving grace, I think. Not the way.
No.
Just made him better at murdering people.
Yeah.
And he follows through all of this time to get to the Germans. He's chasing them around. They capture Lady Murasaki. He swoops in to save her, and he kills one of them. He starts putting all these symbols on them and like carving them in different ways. He is, we see him start cooking the people. He has already cooked the cheeks of one guy on the like campfire. Like, it's all very much like, I threw this together to show you who Hannibal is.
Yeah.
Here's all the pieces you needed.
So to be fair, I do think that there was kind of a through line that was there. Like, it started as he just killed because to protect somebody. And then he was like, I made a promise that I would not let these people who get away with what they did. And then like the guy that he cut off the cheeks and everything, he literally did to that guy what they did to his sister. And so like there was like a pattern. And then the problem was that the pattern just kept escalating until we get to the point where as he kills the one guy, he finds out that it wasn't just the soldiers who ate his sister. They also fed her to him. And so like, that is like the thing that snaps him and breaks him. And he no longer like cares about revenge. He just hates himself. Like, and like it vaguely as a storyline of how Hannibal becomes Hannibal, I don't hate it. It just wasn't well executed.
Because they didn't have time.
Yeah.
Like, you needed to, if you were going to do this, but again, you can't wait 2 years to release a movie if you're trying to build off of another one. Granted, with Hannibal, that storyline never died. Like, it wasn't like if they waited 2 more years, they weren't going to get a hit out of it.
Yeah.
But they were just ready then. And they were like, we're doing this now. Let's just go.
So once again, the people with the money are not artists.
Exactly. And so like Lady Murasaki at the end, they have their goodbye, and she even notices, she's like, you're not human anymore. Like, I don't remember her direct line, but
he basically admits that he has feelings for her, because obviously there's this light undercurrent of it where he's like starting to like have romantic feelings for her, and he tells her he loves her, and she said, what is left of you to love?
Yeah. And it's like, that's also a very weird storyline that I don't think was necessary. I think that it is necessary to prove that point,
Yeah,
I don't think this is the way to do it. Like,
correct. No,
it's
no, no.
not by making him fall in love with his aunt. Like, that is strange. I don't
I
like
mean,
that.
to be fair, she was a Japanese war bride of his uncle who was
Right.
very much younger than his uncle, and like, but also she was already an adult when he was a child and kidnapped by the
Mhm.
Nazis, so like she wasn't that much age appropriate for him. So like
Right.
it was weird.
Yeah, it was more for convenience sake and not writing another character, probably. Like, not having
Yeah.
to put in a romantic storyline, which there's a
And it
lot of
was
other stuff that
also,
could be cut, but
and
fine.
to be fair, if it had been done well, it's also to show that Hannibal, because of how early he lost everyone and because of the weird like psychology and
Mhm.
the abuse, doesn't have the distinction of understanding the difference between familial and romantic love. Like he doesn't know what that is.
Right.
Because even in other portrayals of it, Hannibal's desire to have relationships with people is always somehow wrong.
Right. Right. And this is kind of, I mean, this is really 2007 is really a high time for personifying the villains.
Yeah.
Um, you're seeing a lot of that coming out, and you're seeing backstories that we've never seen before. Like
And
shortly
I
after we
don't even
get,
mind that
you
because
know,
Hannibal Lecter's always been kind of a gray character in the sense
right.
that like even from the beginning, he was definitely a bad guy, but you kind of got it.
Yeah. And I think this is a great concept. Like I wish this had been better executed because I really do like the backstory we get. I do really like how we see his character unfold. And I do really
Well,
like
and
how it makes him more gray of a character than just black and
for the
white. Like,
first 50 minutes of the movie, he's an abused child. You can't hate
right,
him. Like
right,
this movie, if it had been done well, it would add so much to the idea of how do you hate Hannibal Lecter?
right.
Because
100%.
like
And so like there
I went
was
into it after the first 25 minutes of all of the stuff that happened when he was a kid and all of the stuff and like seeing him with his mom and seeing him protect his sister. I was like, not me on Hannibal's side again.
yeah,
But then by
yeah,
the end of the movie, I was like, the fuck is even happening?
right. And the thing is like we talk about how fast it was. This movie was filmed October 2005 to January of 2006. That's like 3 months. Like,
Which, to be fair, some films are filmed in 3 months, but they're usually, I don't know, written and storyboarded and cast before
right.
that.
And that's not really the case here because he started writing it, I think, in 2005, the book as well. And so, like, we haven't even gotten a full story and we're filming in 3 months. The movie comes out a year later, which means we've had a year for post production, which is, again, fine if you have something created to go off of.
Yeah.
But here we don't. And so, you usually have that done, within 6 to 7 months. And then you have the 5 months after post production with like the final tweaks here and there, the promotion stuff, like all of that. And it
Yeah.
just, like this NBC or like I think it was Universal at the time that had it had
Well,
a great
NBC
idea.
is Universal.
It is, but I think it was like the more Universal movie department,
Oh,
like the NBC department.
that makes sense.
Um and so like they had a great idea, they had a great thought, but they didn't let it happen. Like they wanted to throw it out there. And it was so wild
Yeah.
to me how it all came together. Um I do have a couple of fun facts that are one's they're both horror related, which is very fun. In true horror fashion, Stephen Walters, who was the one murdered in the immersible tank,
Yeah.
is claustrophobic, and
Of
his
course.
drowning scene is real. So it goes back to our Hitchcock times where you just torture people.
Great.
Um, Super fun. So all of the
Love it.
terror on his face is real terror. He's
Love that.
horrified. That scene is probably the one that made me the most uncomfortable because I thought I was going to die while watching it because I'm not really claustrophobic, but I kind of am.
Can I tell you how much of a different person than you I am? Do you know what scene made me the most uncomfortable in this whole movie?
Which one?
The beginning when the guy bit the bird.
Mm. So I represented Black Sabbath's catalog, and so I have seen a lot of pictures and
No,
videos of
I
Ozzy.
understand that. I do.
Um,
But for me, I literally, oh, also
I'm a little numb to it, I think.
the opening was like happy music and forest and like kids playing. And I get that
Yeah.
like the juxtaposition, I get what they were trying to do. It didn't work, but I get what they were trying to do.
Right.
But because I knew the direction the movie was going to go in, when they like had an unnecessarily long close up on a pig, I was like, I will turn this off if they hurt that pig. If I watch an animal get slaughtered in the first 10 minutes of this movie, I'm not watching it.
Yeah, no, it was, I feel like that's a really great summary for this entire movie is like, I see what they were trying to do and it was a good idea, but it didn't work.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's the entire premise of
That is the
this
entire premise
movie.
of this movie. I get what they were trying to do. It just didn't do it.
Yeah. My other fun fact is that the fake blood that was used, like when he bites off the cheek and stuff, so he has like the blood all over his face, was strawberry flavored.
Love that.
And the cheek that he bites is silicone. So like it's very, I mean, obviously, I mean, the silicone was less surprising than the strawberry blood. And I know they use flavors, but like it was just kind of funny that they like it wasn't like here's red food coloring and like oil. So it's like, which is what I feel like they normally do. So it doesn't taste good, but it doesn't taste bad. It's
I
just,
mean, listen, the blood and cycle was chocolate syrup, so like
right. Well, that was, yeah, but they didn't eat that either. So,
no,
but it was
but they
just
could
so
have.
funny that they were so particular. They're like, we're gonna make this strawberry flavored for you.
Well, here's the thing.
Um,
He has to like relish licking it. And
right.
it's a lot easier to like, not that I'm not saying like, or just act, but like,
Right. Or
but
be an
if
actor.
you have the possibility of making something taste good that
Hmm.
someone's gonna have to continuously like enjoy licking, you should do that just to like be kind to your actors because red
Right.
olive oil versus strawberry syrup, which one am I gonna be able to act like I like drinking more? Definitely not the olive oil.
That is, I mean, that is 100% true. Like, no question asked. But I just thought it was fun. I think that's a fun
Yeah.
way to do it.
Yeah.
Um, I have a fact about the mask scene. So obviously we have the mask where he's like trying it on, and it is very reminiscent of like Silence of the Lambs. I'm sure it's in the other movies too. I just have only seen Silence of the Lambs,
Right.
but that's the one that everyone knows. So Peter Weber actually wanted it to just fit without any elastic. So Ulio tried to make it a bit smaller by pushing it on the sides that would fit on his cheeks, but he ended up breaking the mask, and so they had to remake this entire mask, which was like painstaking for the like props department. Um, but it was really funny. I thought that was
Yeah.
fun.
Because once
So
again, nobody knew what the fuck they were doing.
right. So I did pull a couple of reviews to my horror. Screen Rant actually gave it like 3.5 out of 5 stars, like more than 50%, which feels high.
Yeah.
But they did call it, they said this is another superfluous, mediocre addition to the Hannibal Lecter franchise. Has this dead horse been beaten enough? And truly, at the time this movie came out, is the perfect way to address this
Yeah.
because, like, absolutely, like, we didn't bring anything better to it. The story's fine, but we didn't bring anything that like made me want to keep going. If
Yeah.
I watched this when it came out, I would have been like, great, I'm done with Hannibal Lecter forever. By the time the TV series came out, I would not have wanted to watch it because I would have
Correct.
been so over it.
Yeah.
Um, and that would have been really sad because the TV show is great. But it was just like, how true is that? There are so many 10 out of 10 reviews on IMDb.
I
I
just
was
went to
appalled.
Google. I just went to Google and the first review is like, I don't
Mhm.
understand why this movie's panned.
Yeah, this one is extremely underrated and brilliantly directed and acted. Perfect prequel. Could could not be more wrong. Um, it's just this is the absolutely perfect movie that shows in detail how Hannibal became a monster. Like, you are not wrong that this is the perfect story. Um,
This is one of the best movies I've watched so far.
yeah, he does, whoever wrote this, I'm guessing it's a man, did say that he heard that Macaulay Culkin was supposed to be played for this role and he was glad he wasn't. I was like, that is the one thing you've said correctly. Um,
I
it's just, I'm flabbergasted by the amount of praise that has come from like people that are like, this is so great. But then it's also rated 6.1. So like I'm sure there are
okay.
one stars
This is a
somewhere.
1 star review on Google that I really think makes
Yeah.
sense. First, this story to me doesn't feel like a Hannibal Lecter story. It's more of a typical revenge neo-noir than a Hannibal story with a pinch of cannibal Nazis. And plus, the plot hole with the really weird, cringe love interest, that being Hannibal with his widowed aunt. This movie and book are really lousy, a cancerous monstrous of a story. Okay, the only reason Thomas Harris wrote the story was because the studio had threatening to write a prequel of his character if he didn't. It it answers questions that nobody was asking for.
Yep.
And I was like,
That is
that is
100% in.
the most accurate review.
Yeah, this person says it's a movie of no gray areas. It's either awesome or awful.
No,
And like that's not
I don't think
wrong.
so.
People think it's 10 out of 10 or not good. I do see a lot of that, but this person rated it 10 out of 10. So they're clearly mistaken.
Yeah.
Oh, and they do a whole review of the book. Like nothing is good. Um, but yeah,
Borderline
I just
unwatchable. It drags on forever. It
yeah,
feels ultimately pointless.
100%. 100%.
This person said 100% guaranteed cure for insomnia. Since
I will
both
say
of
I fell
us
asleep
fell
four
asleep,
times
I took
watching
a
this
nap. I
movie.
finished it and then needed a nap immediately.
Yeah, I fell asleep four different times watching this movie. And I just
This one girl said she gave it 1 star because of the Japanese twist. She's like, only one. It would be 0 if it weren't for that. Ma'am, what are you
what
talking
a
about?
what a comment. Um, this person says it's a modern day classic. It's not.
No, it's
It's not.
not. What is, I mean, okay, what is, I don't, it has a 16% on Rotten Tomatoes, a,
Right.
and a 35 on Metacritic. 35.
Yes.
Metacritic is like the easiest thing to do well on.
I'm telling you, anyone who rated it over 50%, I don't understand because I give a lot of slack to
The
movies. I am the person that
the
likes things that I don't
highest,
like.
the highest critic review on Metacritic is a 75%. That's the highest.
It's so insane. This person says Hannibal without Anthony Hopkins. Nice surprise. They've never heard of this series before. Like there are so many other ones. I mean, this was 2007, so like Matt Mickelson wasn't Hannibal yet, but there are three other movies without Anthony Hopkins. Like they don't know what's going on. Um, ugh, it's just
This is my favorite, the Baltimore Sun review. Most of the movie makes too much sense and is no fun at all.
accurate. I just this person spelled everything wrong, but they put an awesome, violent, orgiastic matinee of sadistic cruelty and mayhem. That is 0% how I would describe this movie. Hannibal's the focus of the film, like Damien was the focus of the Omen movies. Yeah, this whole series is about Hannibal. Why is this a surprise to you? He does not know what's he spelled brutal wrong. Brutal revenge pick, the fifth Hannibal film. So it's like a matinee this time around. This man, I just can't. Um, yeah, so that's a lot of what
Entertainment.
I
Okay, I'm
have.
sorry.
Oh, you have one more?
Entertainment Weekly's review is 25% on Metacritic. The headline, the little blurb on Metacritic says Hannibal Rising reduces this great creature of the pop imagination to a Eurotrash Boy Scout throwing a homicidal snit fit.
That is so accurate.
Oh,
I don't always line up with Entertainment Weekly, but look,
but
harsh but
they
true.
called him a Eurotrash Boy Scout.
He kind of is. He kind of is, and it is not Gaspard Juilliard's fault. It
And
is not his fault.
no,
It is how the character's written.
this is, and the lowest score is from the New York Times, which
Sure,
I mean they're harsh, but
they're harsh.
they're usually at least
They give you a
fair.
silver lining a lot of time too, if they
But
can.
silly, slack, and unforgivably tedious, Thomas Harris's screenplay is padded with interminable flashbacks and a bombastic score that telegraphs every emotion Hannibal represses, and there are a lot of them.
I just feel like that was such a like we're gonna give as neutral of a review as we can without just being like this movie sucks.
But
We're
also,
gonna try and
it was
sound
also a 10% on Metacritic.
right. They're like, you know what we're saying. We don't really need to say it fully. Um, very like the New York Times to be so nuanced in their words. But that's so funny. Oh my gosh. So we watched it, we did it. This is the prequel. This is technically the only thing that's happened before we get to the TV series. So it sets us up for where we are because of course it ends with him coming to America, coming to Baltimore, um, after being arrested, but not really by Inspector Dominic
Well,
West. And
Inspector Dominic West.
yeah, and so we are now caught up to our series. I don't know a lot of people that have watched this movie. I do know some people because obviously 2007 was a high time for Hannibal. People were super obsessed due to the
Yeah, I
popularity of
literally,
Silence of the Lambs.
most of the people
Um,
I know didn't even know this movie existed, let alone watched it. So,
right, right. Which I mean, a lot of people don't know Red Dragon exists either, and that
true.
one's apparently fine.
Yeah.
But hopefully, and from what I've seen, this is the worst of the films. So hopefully they only get better from here. We do have a lot more time put into the other movies. So they had time to develop what they were coming for. So hopefully we are all up from here. All up from here. Do you have any final thoughts? Do you have any final feelings before we bring it back to our TV series next week?
Um, just that if there's no way that this movie should be considered canon because a Eurotrash Boy Scout can't grow up to be Mads Mikkelsen.
That
Sorry.
is so true. And like this poor man, he I wish he had been given more to work with because he
Yeah.
really, like you said at the beginning, he really could have done more with it. And I can see his connection to Mads Mikkelsen, like if he's treated
Yeah.
correctly. I could see how he comes from this to that, but it just was a terrible, terrible execution.
Yeah.
And there's just not a lot to be said about it past
No.
that. So if you want to say anything about it, if you disagree with us, please tell me. I'm living for these 10 out of 10 reviews that I totally
Yes.
disagree with. Please feel free to email us, deathandaliens@gmail.com. You can find us on all of the social media at Death and Aliens. You can find me at CECloud13.
And you can follow me everywhere at EMKAY_superstar.
And we'll be back to our regular programming next Thursday. But first, we have Sci Fi Sunday. So we'll see you there.